for the invite, and Joel, thank you for opening up your establishment. I appreciate it, it's great, and I admit I'm a meat eater, but I eat a lot of vegetables, and I don't count my wine as part of my fruit, so what I'd like to talk about, James asked me to come speak about, how do we package our services, and so as I get to that, I've got a lot to cover because I think it's going to be important for us to understand there's a process that has to take place before you ever offer a prospective patient a package that's going to allow them to gain their goals. I was looking at some recent research done by Accenture, a global consulting group, and in 2000, there were, out of the calculation that did an estimate of 683,000 practitioners in the US, 57% were independent. What do you think that is today? There's now 821,000, and it went from 57% independent down to 33%. So today, 2/3 of all practitioners have given up the right to make the decisions with their business, with their practice, with their patients, and they're allowing insurance companies and bureaucrats to make those decisions. So there's an exodus for very specific reasons. There's plenty of doctors like yourself and those watching this program right now on EvoMed that want to practice, that want to run a private practice, and they want to run things in a fashion that allows them to deal with those people that come to them and trust them. They want to deal with them the way that they know that they should as a practitioner, as a mentor, as a teacher, as a good diagnostician, and not have to deal with what insurance companies say that we can do or what we can't do, et cetera, which also means that we have to look at things to offer those clients, those patients, that aren't necessarily covered by insurance, as Jeff was talking about earlier. The most valuable thing that you can offer these people is your knowledge. Well, learning to do this, the reason that people drop out and they come to the point of going, I can't stay in private practice anymore, it's not feasible, I can't keep my doors open, they end up selling to a corporate situation, and now they're in a hospital or one of these many emergency clinics going up all over America. And so they've given it up, not necessarily because they want to, but because they don't understand that their practice is a business, and they don't know how to run the business. So before we get to packaging, I want to cover a few things on this. I can't cover these tonight, but some of the things that take place once you decide, I want to stay in private practice, I want to run the practice of my dreams and deliver the kind of care that I know that I should and what I can, you're going to have to learn to promote yourself. And promoting yourself, when you're in an insurance practice, you find that you get people coming to you because you're on their insurance. If you're a specialist, if you're in cardiology, you get other practitioners referring to you, et cetera. When you go at it to where you're doing more of a proactive approach, you step away from that. That doesn't mean you can't have a hybrid practice. That doesn't mean you can't still have insurance, but you're going to be working with people delivering services that aren't necessarily covered. So your public needs to know who you are. There's plenty of people that need you, but we don't know how to get out and promote ourselves. Whether that is, James has got a book here, that's a promotion piece. Having lessons on YouTube, having webinars, speaking publicly, et cetera, having these meetup groups like he talked about. These are all things to promote. Number two, patients who sign up, pre-education. Too often, we expect people to come in and we get confused. Someone comes in our practice, we know they need that help, and then they don't sign up for our cash services, and we're wondering what's happened. There's not a pre-education process taking place, meaning when I did have my practice, no one came into my practice for a consultation that hadn't gone through some type of pre-education. Again, whether that was online, video, webinar, live talk, what have you. And then there's the point of when they do come in, that consultation, I'm going to call that positioning, because how you communicate to that prospective person in front of you, that prospective patient, means all the difference in the world whether they're going to move forward or not. And it starts with listening to find out really where they're going. I'll talk about that a little later. But positioning is going to be important, because if this doesn't take place, again, talking to that person in front of you about what it's going to take to move forward, what those services are, and what the investment is not going to go anywhere. So I can't cover these today. James had asked me, hey, can you cover this, Charlie? Can you cover this packaging so these doctors really understand that this is the way to go? So we're going to focus on this, but let's talk a little bit about at why we need to put this in and the difference between the typical practice management model and the doctor entrepreneurial model. So a lot of you've probably had some kind of maybe management coaching. And I'll express it this way. No matter what kind of practice you run, you need to find someone that knows more about the direction you want to go than you. Meaning some type of coach, practice management if you will, but I'm going to try to explain the difference here in practice entrepreneurial model or in the management model. It's really teaching you to stay in the traditional model and make it more efficient. So from the patient experience, here's what you get. Very little time with the doctor. Impersonal. Care is limited by insurance. So again, everyone that's watching right now has the mindset of I want to offer proactive. I want to empower those to come to me. That's not always going to be covered by insurance. Patient wants you to solve their problems. The typical mindset of most Americans today is you're the doctor, I'm the patient, you fix me, and I'm entitled to it because I have insurance. Public has been taught today, and it's going to be your job to disrupt that and teach them, well, there's another way to go. Often don't get the results they're looking for, the way that on the patient experience on the doctor entrepreneur model, you get as much time as needed. That doesn't mean you're going to have an hour appointment every time, but it means more than 7 minutes. It means more than 10 minutes. It means what you need with that individual as they go through your program. Personalized care, so it's going to be unique to them. And when we go into packaging, you'll think, well, how can you make a package unique? We'll get to that. Care is not limited by insurance. You're going to deliver exactly what they need. You're not going to make a judgment call, well, whether this person can afford it or not, that's going to come later. What you're going to do is you're going to act as the teacher, the diagnostician, the mentor, and you're going to do what's right for them and express to them and communicate to them, if this is where we're going, this is what you need. Patient takes responsibility for their health, so there's basically a partnership. Get great results and often send referrals. I think my mic, just lost my mic. We got it? You good? Okay. All right. Doctor experience for this, practice management model, doctor experience. Seeing many patients a week, too many patients, I had that model one time. Little time to spend with your patients, unpredictable insurance payments, focus on the quantity of patients rather than quality, work 5-6 days a week. And practice is dependent on you, so you go on vacation, your practice doesn't make anything. So doctors don't take vacations. Doctor entrepreneur model, see as many patients as you want or need. You decide how big you want the practice. You decide, do I want to work 3 days a week? Do I want to work 4 days a week? As much time as needed for the patients. So in your system and your education and how you put that together, you're going to be able to spend, because what you're going to find, you're going to be delivering your services and your care, and the most powerful thing that you can deliver is you're going to be your knowledge. So we don't have to worry about making money on tests. We don't have to worry about making money on supplements. The biggest investment they're going to make is with what you can do to take them to the next place, take them to their destiny. You control your own financial destiny, focus on the quality of your service and care, much higher experience for the patient. Work 4 days a week, practice can run independent from you. That won't happen right off the bat, but that may be a goal for you to make certain that practice is running and is able to function if you decide to take time off with your family. All right, so back to packaging. So the ethical responsibility of packaging is this: determine what their goals are. When people come into your practice, and since this is a cardiovascular, I identified as that for this particular focus. When someone comes in and they've got cardiovascular problems, etc., they're not coming in to say, hey, heal me of my heart disease. What they're asking and what they're shouting, they just don't know how to communicate it, is they're saying, doctor, I'm scared to death that something's going wrong here, because when I'm walking down the block with my dogs, my legs begin to hurt. I'm starting to get chest pain when I ride the bike with my daughter. I'm having erectile dysfunction, and I feel like I'm a little too young for that, and I'm losing my confidence. I feel like this is an important part of my relationship, and I'm about 30 pounds heavier, but I'm scared to work out because my uncle was having some of the same symptoms, had a heart attack and died. Okay, so it's not about the symptoms, it's about what's going to happen. They're in a place where they don't want to live anymore. They want to live in a different destination. And how they get there isn't so important. It needs to be logical to them, and they have to have confidence and faith in you as a practitioner. I want to get to Tahiti because I don't want to live here. I'm in Michigan right now. I want to live in Tahiti. Okay? How do I get there, doctor? They're not overly concerned with exactly how the plane flies and how comfortable the plane's going to be and what meals are going to be fed on the plane. They just need to know I'm confident that Delta's going to get me from here to Tahiti, okay? As physicians, we have a tendency to preach about the plane trip, to preach about how great the plane trip's going to be, how great we are as the captain of the ship. What they're interested in is I don't want to live here anymore. I want to live in Tahiti. Can you get me there? I can get you there. And when we hear that and we express that and they say, that's right, that's what I'm looking for, now they're seeing their health as an investment. The plane trip's an expense. Your services are an expense. The supplements are an expense. The goal in the destination is an investment, okay? So determine what their goals are. Listen to them. Communicate what they need to achieve their goals. So up front, once I know what those are, and I've communicated to that person and their loved one, if they have a spouse, right? I'm going to go back to them. Is this where you want? That's where we want to go. Here's what we're going to need to get there, and what your responsibilities are, and what the financial commitment. Now, the first thing that's going to happen is if this is where I want to go, I've got to make certain it's very clear what it's going to take. There has to be agreement. I'm willing, and it's logical. It makes sense. I believe that plane's going to get me into Tahiti. I'm all on board. And then here's your responsibilities. Are you willing to do that? Here's what my responsibilities are. And now, and not until then, do we ever get to a financial commitment. You never, ever have any purpose or point going into what the finances are if they're not fully on board, ready to fly to Tahiti, okay? So the ethical responsibility, let's make certain everything's up front. The package is best for the patient because they know in advance what they're getting into. We don't drag them along visit to visit to visit. They know, is it going to be 3 months, Doc? Is it going to be 4? How long is it going to take? The personal responsibility and involvement on their side. All the product, service, education available. They just need to know you got them. You don't have to go into a lot of detail. They just know you got them. What's their investment? Package is best for the practitioner. You have a long-term commitment up front as a partner in health. You get paid for your knowledge. You get paid up front for your services. You won't have to sell your patient every visit. And by the way, getting paid up front for your services also allows them to have a budget it out and make payments. So it makes it more affordable. You can charge more. You can actually charge what you're worth. You're not going to upsell stuff. Again, I didn't upsell labs and things like this. It was my knowledge and my team's knowledge. The patient has skin in the game, so you have compliance. And then, so when we package things, I'm going to try to move pretty quick here when we package things, and I'm going to show you a package so it makes sense to you. But if I brought someone in here, every practitioner here right now, if I brought someone off the street and he had 5 minutes to read their history and gave you what their drugs were, their medications, what surgeries they had, how old they were, et cetera, and you had 5 minutes to talk to them, there's not one person here that couldn't determine that's a mild cardiac case, that's a moderate cardiac case, or that's a severe cardiac case. You can do it in 10 minutes. So we can design packages ahead of time that compile all the fundamentals that we want to have in that, whether it's nutrition, certain supplements, certain labs, et cetera, ahead of time, and then we can tweak it for that person. But again, what we're not selling, what orthodontists have figured out pretty well, is when someone comes in and they want beautiful smile, $7,000, $8,000 is reasonable. What's not reasonable is $7,000 for the hardware, and they never sell you the hardware. You're selling someone a life. You're changing their entire life. And sometimes, as Jeff mentioned, again, we have a hard time thinking somehow that's not worth it. Okay, so this is an example of a package. I know you can't see this, so I'm going to blow it up. And this was one of my packages, and you can put this with any kind of disease process, and you can change it, et cetera. I just want to give you an idea. So, case evaluation. Now, on that case evaluation, for this particular program, $1,800. And a lot of times we think that when we sit down with them, that's when the clock starts. Yet if you go to an attorney and you want him to take your case, he's going to ask for a fee up front because he's going to do research. He or she will do research on your case. Spend a lot of time and hours. When you take on a case, you're going to be reviewing labs. You might be calling another physician. You might be doing some research. That's all part of your case valuation that you should be charging for. If you're doing your job right, you should be spending time on what that case evaluation is, right? So then you have office visits, $1,000 in this case. Is there any specific number of visits? No, but they'll get the visits they need in that course of time. Some people are different. Some people that are more compliant, maybe less visits. It's not going to be based on it. It's going to be based on results. Supplementation, nutraceuticals. So whatever those are going to be, I don't know in this case, because all I know is it might be a 4-month case. It might be a 6-month case. And we know in this case, this was going to be covering 4 months worth of supplements. The 6 months is the management. So 4 months, we know that $1,000 on the average person that came into my office, that would cover it. It may be different in your case. It may be $800, it may be $1,200. So every time they get a supplement, they don't have to go back and pay for it, right? It's already been done. And then you have diagnostic testing, whatever those tests are. I didn't upcharge for my test. You may have a lot more tests. You may have less than this. Then you have educational tools. I had a book, a binder. There was wellness classes. There was et cetera, et cetera. So you can see here that the only hard costs are supplementation and diagnostic tests. You can see that 70% of that fee, down at the end, $6,000, 70% of that fee, that was the knowledge. That's what they invested into for the outcome. You see? Okay, so packaging your services just does not have to be difficult. I know we covered this very, very quickly in our timeline, but hopefully that'll start giving you some insight on how to start putting this together. And you're going to have again more than one, but you can tie them in once you get the person. But put these together ahead of time makes it a lot easier, and it's a lot better for your patients. Thanks for your time, guys.